Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Thank you very much for giving us chance to join here. I
Okay.
believe if it's 10 minutes, we will start.
Can I just check how the voice is it clear or
Yeah, it's very clear. For me, it's very clear.
it's only the photo? Okay.
Open the
It's all
camera because I believe we need camera as well for the next session.
okay. Is it clear the camera?
What about the camera and the other stuff? Everything fine?
Mhm.
For me, my camera is showing like mirror. The screen is reverse.
It's the same for us. Your photo is not clear for your photo, but I'm not sure. I can see Kamil. His photo is clear. And then from the other.
Join bank. Yeah. Yeah, the icons and other stuff, it's showing me the reverse. Okay, let's try it. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Hi,
Hello.
am I audible?
Hi. Good morning. Can you guys hear me?
I can.
Yeah. We're just going to start momentarily. Sai will be introducing, he'll start the session. So may I request you all to switch off your camera, and once he introduces you all, then you can come on the screen with your cameras on. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all so much for joining in and being a part of CyberSafe Now KSA. We'll just allow another 5 minutes for our attendees to join.
Sure.
Morning. Sure, we can wait.
Good morning, distinguished guests, esteemed speakers, valued sponsors, and ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to welcome you to CyberSafe Now KSA, organized by Q&A. My name is Sai Sanjit, and I will be your host for the day. As we come closer for this virtual gathering, there's a strong sense of purpose around the conversations we're about to have, centered on cybersecurity leadership, digital resilience, and the evolving threat landscape shaping the kingdom's future. Today's sessions bring together senior decision makers, security leaders, policy voices, and technology experts to share perspectives and practical insights on strengthening cyber posture, improving organizational readiness, and building trust in an increasingly connected world. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to thank our supporting partner, Daylinear, and our gold sponsor, Silverfort. We sincerely appreciate their support and their continued commitment to advancing meaningful dialogue and cybersecurity and resilience. As digital transformation accelerates, organizations are shifting their focus towards securing expanding systems, protecting growing volumes of data, managing complex third-party ecosystems, and responding to increasingly sophisticated threats. CyberSafe Now KSA has been designed with this reality in mind, focusing on how organizations can move beyond awareness to execution and from policy to true preparedness. Here's a quick look at what we have lined up for today. We'll kick things off with a fireside chat, followed by an engaging panel discussion. Before we wrap up, we also have a short quiz to keep things interactive. Since this is a virtual session, we encourage you to stay engaged throughout, follow the discussions closely, and make the most of the interactive features available on your screen. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me for the national anthem of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Cybersecurity is no longer a back office concern. Today, it is a central pillar of trust, resilience, and national progress. As the kingdom continues to accelerate its digital transformation, organizations must move with equal speed to strengthen governance, readiness, and response. The threats organizations face today are more sophisticated. The attack surface is broader, and the expectation on leaders is clearer than ever. What matters now is not only awareness, but execution, the ability to translate strategy into measurable resilience. With that, we shall dive into our first session on securing identity from AD to AI, the case of consolidating identity security. Please join me in welcoming our first speaker of the day, Bivin Babu, sales engineer at Silverfort. Hi, Bivin. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, good morning, man. What's up?
All doing good, doing good. Thank you. How about yourself?
All well. I like the energy, man. You're too energetic, very infectious.
Well, I mean, like I said, it is an exciting thing to host this with senior leaders like yourself. So yeah. Um, let's start with the basics for those who haven't come across Silverfort before. How would you describe what the company does and the problem it was founded to solve?
Hey, great question, man. Before I answer your question, let me just briefly introduce myself and put some context into this whole thing, right? So my name is Bivin. I'm the lead technical practice for Silverfort across Middle East Africa. I've been in the region for quite a long time. I've been here almost for 18, 19 years, working across different end user companies, different reseller security organizations, distribution companies, and various OEMs as well. And we've been with Silverfort for more than a year, right? And that is the reason we're trying to ramp up in the region with the product. And going back to your question about for people who haven't heard about Silverfort, so let's get to the basics, right? So think about how breaches actually happen today. In over 80% of the cases, attackers do not break in, they log in, right? And then this is basically coming from all that we have seen in the past 12 to 18 months as fresh. So they steal or compromise a credential, and from that point, they move through the environment looking perfectly legitimate to every tool watching. Silverfort was founded to close that gap. So most organizations have invested heavily in the identity infrastructure, ranging from Active Directory, Entra ID, Okta, but those tools are basically designed to manage access, not to detect and stop identity-based attacks in real time, right? So there are different purposes for what they're built for. What Silverfort does is sit across all those identity systems simultaneously, analyze every single authentication and access requests as it happens, and enforce security policies at that moment in runtime, right? And the critical differentiator is that we do this without requiring any agents, because it's a nightmare when we when we start talking about agents to different organizations to deploy. So whatever we do, we don't need agents across the board, and then we enforce the security policies at that moment. And we don't need an agent on the endpoints. We're not a proxy in the network, or we don't need any code change in the applications. So we see everything and we act in real time without disrupting the environment to do it. Right? Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Coming to identity security that you just so rightly mentioned, there are a lot of vendors claiming to solve this issue of identity security. So, in that context, what makes Silverfort's approach fundamentally different from what already exists in the market?
Yeah, great question, man. So I think the core difference would be architectural, right? The examples I was giving before, from a perspective of endpoints and proxies and change to applications. So the core difference is architectural. So every other identity security vendor requires you to either deploy an agent on your machines, or put a proxy in front of your applications, or modify your applications to integrate with their platform, right? That's how they're designed basically. Nothing wrong with that. But that's kind of a change of difference that we have with Silverfoot. So that creates two problems. Number one, massive deployment complexity. And if you look at most of these implementations, there have been implementations going on for extremely long time. And I've personally been part of a lot of these projects. And coverage gaps everywhere that you cannot deploy, right? And because it's obviously multi-vendor, multi-scope, so there are possibilities of having a lot of gaps. So Silverfort integrates directly at the authentication layer, right? So when you talk about the Active Directory or any other identity providers I mentioned before, including cloud and legacy and all of that, we sit at the authentication layer. Basically, to go a bit more deeper, we're talking about the levels of NTLM and Kerberos. That means we see authentication events from every user, every device, every application and scope, including the ones that no other tool can reach. Because once everything is centralized and then you're sitting on a realm that is very consolidated, it becomes very easy for you to see and then basically take an action. So legacy systems running clinical softwares, OT devices on the factory floor, service accounts running automated process in the background, whatever it may be, we'll see all of that because we have one single consolidated plane. The second difference is that we do not just detect threats. And this is very, very crucial. But when we talk about security, and like I said before, I've been doing this for 18 years, having visibility is one, it's great. It makes you, gives you the capacity to make informed decisions. But better than that is if you can have inline security controls, if you can stop something, that's way better. And that's a lot of ROI and ROSI. So the second difference that we do is we just don't detect threats, right? We enforce policy at the moment of authentication. If a user's behavior looks suspicious, we can step up to MFA, right? Make no mistake, we're not an MFA company, but we can, right? That's the leverage we have. Or we can block an access right then in runtime, right? Not just based on behaviorals, we can have it work statically, or we can have it work on in terms of behaviors and signals that we receive. So not after a SIM alert gets triggered 3 hours later. So everything is in runtime, and the architectural differentiator is what makes us very different from the lot of what other companies provide from an identity security standpoint.
So, in essence, it's how do I put it? Covering the full identity attack surface.
Fair enough. That's a good deduction. Yes.
Okay. Can you walk us through what that actually looks like as a platform? Like what capabilities does a customer get in a single deployment?
Well, that's a very interesting choice of word. Platform is the right word, and this is something we try to cement when we try to talk to customers and prospects and industry veterans. It has to be a platform, right? And because you cannot just have point solutions to address a very big problem, which is basically identity. And when you just it's a rabbit hole that you go down. So a platform is imperative. So what does it look like for an entire attack surface? So when a customer deploys Silverfort, they get four things working together from day one, right? Right off the bat, the first thing is MFA everywhere. So I did say before, we're not an MFA company, but we have that leverage point where we can integrate with any MFA provider that we want to, or we have our own MFA toolkit as well. But then we can definitely leverage any other MFA and instantaneously cover the gaps that wherever the MFA was missing for the customer today, we could go everywhere right off the bat. Like I said, no agents, no change in applications. And I mean everywhere, including systems that could never support MFA before, legacy applications, command line interfaces, shared accounts, remote access via protocols like RDP, SMB, shared folders, PowerShell, the list just goes on, right? Second is service account protection. This is very, very, very crucial. I've done almost 80 plus interviews in the past 11, 12 months with CISOs, with senior veterans in the industry. And every single person has actually agreed to this that Bivin, it is a massive problem. Service accounts, we're talking now, it's called in different terms. It's called non-human identity. Some people call it machine identities. But service accounts is a very, very, very big problem. And what are the most dangerous blind spots we have in any environment? They're non-human, they run continuously, they're often overprivileged, and they almost never get reviewed, right? So Silverfort discovers every single service account because, like I explained before, because we sit at a consolidated plane, it becomes very easy for us to see that from the authentication standpoint, and then start making controls, start making baselines, and look at deviations if needed, right? And alerts and blocks the moment the baseline breaks, right? The third thing is zero trust network segmentation at the identity layer. Now, a lot of people get confused when you talk about zero trust. We're not a zero trust product per se. But when you talk about zero trust from an identity perspective, that's where we come in. So controlling which users and accounts can access which resources, enforced dynamically. And fourth is the identity threat detection and response. This is very, very, very crucial because a lot of companies out there claim to do the same, but it becomes very, very imperative in terms of how do you understand the signals, what are you looking at, what's your detection mechanism, what's your response mechanism. Like any threat detection and response tech should work, it becomes very, very crucial. But that's what you get right off the bat with Silverfort as point number four, catching the attacks like the pasta hash, Kerberos, lateral movement as they happen. No, not after that they happen. In runtime, everything becomes in runtime. So all of this runs from a single policy engine. It's not that you're going to install or implement silos of text and then try to stitch that defense together. No, that's not how it works. It's one single platform, one single policy engine, one platform, one view across on-prem, cloud, and SaaS, right? And it sits alongside your existing tools rather than replacing them. So we're not here to compete with any of the other so-called identity-based techs. We're here to complement them and then work in unison, right?
Let's take the conversation slowly towards the kind of like the big topic right now, AI adoption. Now, as we know, AI adoption is accelerating, and there's a lot happening with digital transformation, AI integration, and so on and so forth. Organizations are deploying AI agents and agentic workflows at pace. But with that comes a new security challenge. How is Silverfort thinking about the identity risks that AI agents introduce? And what is Silverfort's strategy with that?
So, well, AI is again, it's like the how I said before about the whole identity security. When you start really understanding and start peeling the onion, it's so much that you go into. AI has just become, I don't want to call it the latest buzzword, but just everybody's talking about AI. I'm not sure how many people understand the possibilities, the capabilities of AI, and then only unless you understand that, you really can't understand the security surface of that, right? It is a big problem. Now, I'm part of one of those blessed people where we get to sit in a lot of these underground scenarios. We speak to a lot of these startups, speak to a lot of these OEMs. We speak to a lot of industry peers and understand where this is going and how do we, as collectively, try to tackle this and how do we help organizations go ahead. But from a Silverfoot standpoint, right? One of the most important shifts that we are seeing right now is that AI is not just a tool defenders use, right? It is also creating a completely new category of identity risk. And from our perspective, we think the AI agents is basically an identity problem, right? Now there are different ways you can skin the cat, but then from an AI perspective, when we look at it from Silverford, it's an identity problem. So when organizations deploy AI agents, those agents need to authenticate to systems, access data, take actions autonomously at machine speed, and often with very broad permissions. That's where the problem starts. So the problem is that traditional identity security was designed with humans in mind. AI agents have no MFA prompt, all right, because it kind of works like non-human identities, if I may put it that way. So there is no human to challenge. So who am I going to give the MFA to, right? And because they operate continuously in the background, a compromised or misconfigured agent can move laterally across your environment and look exactly like normal machine activity until it's too late. So Silverford addresses this by extending the same identity security controls we apply to human users and service accounts. So because we have this understanding and the engine that we've built to look at service accounts, when I talk about service accounts, we're talking about service accounts on-prem, we're talking about service accounts on cloud, where we're talking about tokens, certificates, IAM roles, the list just goes on, right? So we have an understanding of that. We've just taken that same principle and built it around AI agents. So we've taken that directly to the AI agents. We discover them, right? We understand the what normal looks like for each agent and enforce least privilege access. This is very, very crucial. Like I said before, looking at everything is great, having the visibility is great, you can make informed decisions, but enforcement is the key. So we enforce those least privilege access policies and flag the moment behavior deviates, right? So whether that is accessing an unusual resource, authenticating from an unexpected context, or escalating privilege it should not have, right? So that's where it becomes very, very effective as a technology. So for organizations in Saudi Arabia moving so fast on AI as part of Vision 2030, and that is most organizations we speak to here, right? It's the same everywhere. But like I cover Middle East, Africa, and I see very similar problems across the board. This is not a future problem, which what people need to understand. I'm not sure if you've heard of what's happening with the latest from Anthropic on Mythos. It is there. It is right here, right? It is happening right now and needs to be governed from day one. It's very, very crucial is what we think, and we're taking it very seriously. A huge part, a chunk of the research and development is actually going into how do we enhance whatever we have today on AI agent security. I would like to use this platform to announce that we have also made an acquisition of a company called Fabrics. This happened last week, which is completely into artificial intelligence as well, and that's where we are focusing as well.
Before I let you go, I mean, you did bring up the whole Saudi Arabia investing heavily on digital transformation, Vision 2030, and all of that. So one last question before I let you go, Bivin. From an identity security and regulatory compliance standpoint, why is Silverfort particularly relevant to organizations operating in the kingdom right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. So see, Saudi Arabia is in a unique position right now, right? So the whole Vision 2030 is driving one of the most ambitious digitalization programs anywhere in the world across government, energy, finance, healthcare, mega infrastructure projects. It's all there, right? So that creates enormous opportunity, but it also means the identity perimeter is expanding faster than most security teams can keep up with. It's a reality out there. And again, I'm speaking to a lot of people, and they kind of resonate with what I'm trying to explain. So from a regulatory standpoint, whether you look at NCA, ECC, whether you look at SAMA, CFSF, they have clear mandates around, let's take, for example, multi-factor authentication, privileged access management, continuous monitoring of access activity. It's all mandated already, right? So these are not checkbox requirements. Probably it was in the past. Today, no. There's a very clear reason why these are mandated, and there's a very clear reason why organizations have stepped up and they're doing those kind of controls in place. Risk registers have been updated. People are getting serious about this. They understand the impact. So they reflect where the real risk is. And Silverfoot maps directly to all of them out of the box, right? Because and that's where we have to start thinking very differently and try to understand how, like I said in the beginning in my first couple of answers, where we try to consolidate the entire identity plane, right? So we need the PAMs of the world, we need the IAMs of the world, we need the IGs of the world, but we also need a platform like Silverfoot where everything gets unified. You cover the gap of looking at it from an authentication realm perspective, so that makes it very, very relevant. So even from relevant for the OT dimension, because the OT environment is something that is very, very crucial. So projects like the NEOM and the ongoing digitalization of Aramco involve deep convergence of operation technology and IT networks. So how do you have a tech that works or bridges both these worlds? That's where Silverfoot also comes in. So the most tools simply cannot, just address all of that. And another very, very important thing from a Silverfoot standpoint is the concern about data sovereignty. It's a real requirement when we talk about countries like Saudi, countries like the UAE. It's a very, very big problem. And we offer full on-premises deployment. We are a complete on-prem solution. We can work in air-gapped environments. We can work. So we are the right bridge, perhaps, when you have an organization who has bifurcation when it comes to IT and OT. We fit that beautifully, right? Same tech, everything is same. The functions are same. Everything is on-prem. So nothing leaves your environment. The authentication events, the behavioral data, the policy decisions, all of it stays within the boundary, right? So that these are the reasons why I think it becomes very, very relevant to have a Silverfoot conversation within the kingdom, and I think it'll add a lot of value in the coming days, months, and years. Yep, that's it. I'm not sure if I answered. It was a pretty long answer, but I hope I
No,
answered
no,
it.
that was all right. Like, I mean, pretty very very interesting is one way to put it, to be honest. And well, yeah, so that basically wraps up our quick fireside chat. And yeah, before we leave, I think we can open the floor for questions from the audience.
Uh, Aside, there is a comment. There are a couple of people who have been complaining of an echo. I think it is while I was speaking. You might want to check that before the
Yes, yes,
other.
our teams, we've already notified it. We've looked at it internally. So I think the issue is resolved now. So yeah.
All right. I'll stay online if there are any questions to be taken. If not, thank you very much again for having me, and I wish all the best for the all the attendees and all the panelists for the upcoming sessions and for the quiz as well. Thank you so much.
And thank you for joining in as well, Bivin. It was such an insightful discussion, and it's an honor to engage with you. And thank you so much once again for joining us today.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
Up next, we have a panel discussion in which we will hear from our esteemed panelists their thoughts and opinions about building a cyber-safe Saudi Arabia, strengthening resilience in a digital-first era. The panel discussion will be followed by a 5-minute Q&A session for the attendees. And the attendees, please post your questions in the chat or Q&A box, and we will address as many questions as possible within the time available. Panelists for the session include Thamir Al-Rawidan, Chief Information Security Officer, Mohammad Shahbaz, Senior Solution Architect, Cybersecurity Advisor, Sadaya, Ala Khalid, Director of Cybersecurity Operations and GRC, Murtada Ayad, Middle East, Turkey and Africa Vice President, Dilinia, Shamil Sayed, Group Head of Cybersecurity and Data Privacy, Ali Zaid Al Qureshi and Brothers. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to have you with us here today. Before we begin, let's do a quick round of introductions for the audience before we start. We'll start with you, Tamir.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for your introducing me for this discussion. Actually, it's quite interesting. Actually, I'm Tamer Redan. I'm working in cybersecurity for a long 15 years. I graduated from Queensland, from University Australia, and actually it's have very rich experience related for cybersecurity in government side. Okay.
Shabazz, would you like to go next?
Yes, thank you very much for giving me a chance. This is Mohammed Shahbaz. Let me introduce myself. I'm working in government sector last 10 years, and I'm solely responsible for designing and implementing different solutions. I am pursuing a PhD from University of Coimbra in AI and digital forensic and cyber defense. Today, I am presenting myself as a panelist in one of the session, which is CyberSafe Now. And I hope this session will be very impactful with high demand, technology oriented upcoming cyber defense frameworks. And hopefully we will give us our best and the audience will enjoy us our discussion. Thank you.
Can we move on with Shamil, please?
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Shamil, although I think your video is turned off at the moment. Oh yeah, now we can see you.
Yeah, there was some problem with the video. So you're able to see me, yeah?
Yeah, now you're visible and loud and clear.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Sai, for having me. And very good morning to everyone. Well, my name is Shamil Sayed, and I'm the group head of cybersecurity for Ali Zaid and Al Quraish Brothers and Company. It's basically the Al Quraishi group. I've been with this firm for over 5 years now. Before that, I was with KPMG as a cybersecurity consultant for close to 10 years. So my experience is more is a mix of both as a consultant and also as a head of cybersecurity. Thank you very much.
Murtada, would you like to go next?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, Sally, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here today. I'm very much looking forward to having that discussion with the panelists around the various topics that we're going to be covering today. So my name is Mortada Ayad. I've been in cybersecurity for almost 20 years. I've also been very lucky to have worked across all continents and covering, all industries in the region, I would say. I've been focusing now and based in the Middle East for the last 10 years. And I'm specializing today around identity security. I'm very happy because it's also very much in line with what Bivin just said earlier around the importance of securing identities and AI in organizations. So I hope I'll be able to also bring some insights to the discussion around that today.
Thank you so much for joining in as well, Murtada. Pleasure to have you with us. Last but not the least, Ala, would you like to do a quick introduction, please?
Thank you for keeping me for the last. Okay, so I'm Ala Ban. So I have experience within the private sector in Saudi Arabia and manufacturing sector, telecommunication sector. Currently, I am the global responsible EI ambassador, and I'm as well advisory board member for multiple cybersecurity organization, including Zoomi, IBM. Can't remember all of them, but recently as well, I joined King Saud as advisory board. So this is me. Multiple awards. I'm participating in multiple international institutions from the governance perspective to frame the EI and OT cybersecurity governance framework.
Now that I have you here, Ala, I would like to start with you for the first question on this panel. And before that, once again, a warm welcome to all of our panelists. And I can't say it enough, but it's always a pleasure and an absolute honor to host you guys and moderate a panel with all of you. So, Ala, my first question for you would be like, I mean, we have been in a conversation just now about AI innovation and adoption. So taking a cue from there, how would we balance AI innovation with strong governance and secure data without slowing transformation?
Well, this is a most executive and companies question. So they bring these AI technologies that everyone want to adapt so fast. So before 2022, no organization ever was thinking about AI, but right now, everyone trying to follow that trend. At the same time, there is a risk. So they are afraid that either cyber or data management or whatever that will stop this trend and stop this innovation. So how we can balance both? So I don't think that doing a complicated process or layer of approval will support that. So the best approach is to deal with AI as a technology. Embed and align whatever process we have with the same technology. So what we are trying to do right now is divide all the AI technologies into 3 categories: low risk, medium risk, and high risk. And whatever technology on that, we will try as much as possible to have the technology into these 3 categories and fill it as much as possible using AI, which is so funny. What is technologies can be considered on that? Develop the criteria. So what has happened? A business unit, they want to bring that AI technology. So instead of going on a longer process, which may take a long approval, architecture review, and every time we had in the past, a new AI technology, the team takes so much time just to understand what is this, what process. But with this model and alignment, it makes it easier for the approval. And for sure, what we are trying to avoid as much as possible here is the approval process or long layer of approval. So you need to take an approval from data, you need to take approval from legal, from. So what we did is like, what I recommend in your organization to do is to have EI committee or council. So they will be the expert and they are away from the implementation just to avoid any conflict of interest. And that part are responsible to make the decision. So it's one layer that include whatever responsible person you want, data management, you want someone from the compliance. So include all the people you need from all the different business units or departments and have them in one. Prepare a clear requirement and governance to make it easier. So you will not stop the transformation with the EI. On opposite, you will have a list of the technologies that support the business and to make a decision and how much risk appetite they are willing to accept. Okay, so.
Yep, right. And so on that, how should organizations approach cybersecurity in environments, specifically where legacy systems still play a significant role?
Well, this is a tricky question. So we're talking about legacy system, and one of the most popular environment with legacy system is the OT environment. So implementing EI is very tricky, it's very risky, but it's a must because EI will make it more effective and efficient for manufacturing to have to identify where is the process is slow, how we can improve it. So it's very needful, especially for OT. At the same time, it's risky. So legacy system is, as you know, especially manufacturing, is hard to touch, and they have these IT/OT resolution. As I recommended before, having a clear EI framework will help to implement AI in any environment, including OT. So as I mentioned before, what we did categorize the EI solution into high risk, low risk, medium risk, and EI related to manufacturing was classified as a high risk. So especially that we don't have a testing environment for a manufacturer or legacy system. Usually, if you have a legacy system, you will not have for it a testing environment. government. So what I recommend for organization, especially if they want to invest heavily on AI, is to bring a digital twin where they can do a test as much as possible. That will minimize the risk of the AI. We understand where the accountability of the AI, what is AI allowed to do on that, and minimize as much as possible the authority of the AI agent. If they want to implement agent or whatever solution of AI, they make sure that the clear authority of that AI is defined before any testing is done.
Okay, I'd like to actually bring in the other members of the panel also on this topic, specifically with building cybersecurity frameworks while ensuring seamless digital transformation across business operations. Shahbaz, would you like to shed some light on that, please?
Yes, thank you very much. The digital transformation, AI-driven technology is mostly booming in all of the region inside in Kingdom. And we have different frameworks. Still now it's going on, but we have existing frameworks which we obviously covering to make our environment enterprises up to that level where the cyber defense will be on a high level. The framework which we are covering in the government side, like NCA, we have some standards which we are covering, and we have different scenarios for covering them. There are some set of rules, policies, procedures, minimum baselines. For covering of these NCA, we are covering also as a SADAIA, as I'm a member of the participant and the core solution architect there. So we have some set of rules as well, which we are covering inside. And these frameworks, when we align together with third party, which is internally or externally, or some government level, so we have to cover all these standard. So our environment should not go beyond of our boundaries, and there will not be breaches. And for this perspective, we have different companies to cover up all these gaps, goals, and gradually we are covering all these set of rules by SDAIA, which is we call PGP. And for cyber perspective defense, we have different scenarios like security design by architecture, set of rules we defined, and most probably Biban, he already explained about the zero trust architectures, which we do not even know it is signatureless or there are vulnerability also. And also AI and automations, threat intelligence hunting stuff as well, plus the business model aligned with the objectives and the culture going not beyond of the cyber defense and resilience. We have continuous set of rules deployment with our in-house build rules to educate our peoples, because we have different group of internal hosted ministries. So we are providing them the educations, plus the seamless and the frictionless security, which is SSO based, IAM and PAM based. So there are multiple frameworks we are covering according to this one. So our organization will be on high demand and less vulnerable for overall on the outside.
So with this whole digital transformation, like someone rightly said, being the buzzword in most countries these days,
Yeah.
what are the most critical vulnerabilities organizations face today as IT, cloud, and operational systems become more interconnected?
There are multiple stuff like if enterprise they are covering about not only the east-west north-south traffic, there are some OT stuff as well. As I said, the security by design must require like minimum baseline, password, standard, identity, and some solutions are besides. So these vulnerability we have to cover on each and every level, because we have different hosted based environment we have to cover and more secure about them. We have hardware-based security as well. Like we have different data center design, security design, internal and external. So these vulnerability we have to cover. Plus more probably, everything is cloud-based. We are not giving the examples here because government, there is NCA. We have some security which are covering a solution over cloud. So we have to given them and take them an action before deploying it. If it is an API-based integrations, so it will be mostly secure them. Either it is on their password or passwordless or some identity-based security or token-based security even. So we have to make sure if it is a multi-cloud, cloud, hybrid inside, so it must be secure, their identity, their environment, because beyond of your company, if it is a third party, they will not tell you if there are breaches happen. But know how we have to cover up, not only reactive, but proactive. That's why we call it threat hunting and threat intelligence. We have very secure solution on the back end. It's not only the hardware base. It is more about the XDR, EDR, and SIEM SOC level solution. If you even single click, the pop-up will come, this guy has done something, because we have very high-end solutions, not only the zero trust, which is the sandboxing, but also beyond of them. So that's why multi-cloud architecture has a big example. You have to secure them, not only the security by design, but also cover up our threat hunting level, threat intelligence level, cyber uh, defense level. That's why the environment would be very strong and secure. Cloud, hybrid enterprises, on-prem, off-prem, uh, especially when we have an environment we need to upgrade. Like we already have discussion about the LLM model, the agents on AI, XLM model, which is high-end level. Once we will upgrade them, though we have our on-prem all the agents, but we need to upgrade them from the third party. So we have to make ourselves, the connection is very secure, which is it a hub and spoke or direct connections. It must be very secure, and only the intelligent updates are coming, which we require. Not everything is coming to ourselves in our database.
Okay, slowly involving more people on this panel. Shamil, can we discuss the key challenges in achieving alignment between cybersecurity teams and business stakeholders during decision making?
Yeah, thank you. Great question. And I've been dealing with this on a daily basis. As I told you, I am the head of cybersecurity for Al Quraishi Group, and within that group, we have around 11 business units and different business stakeholders. And it is challenging because each of the stakeholders they come with a different mindset. Few of them they understand security well, so it's very easy to deal with them. And then there are few others who don't understand it, and that really becomes a challenge. The key thing for a security person is to keep in mind is that you have to be patient when dealing with the business stakeholders, because without business there is no security, right? So explain to them about the risks that they will have, get their buy-in, and then you go ahead and implement any security solutions that you really want to have. Having said that, there are few key challenges that I would like to list, right? So first thing is the conflicting priorities. So cybersecurity wants to reduce exposure. The business wants to move fast. So when security introduces controls that delay a launch, it is perceived as a blocker and not as a protector. So a practical example would be that instead of saying we need to delay this launch, let's say that we give them three options: launch now with this amount of risks, delay by so many weeks and reduce the risk by this much percentage, and then finally add compensating controls and proceed, right? So now it's a business decision, not a security veto. And the next challenge, I would say, is very important one is translating risk into business terms. One of the biggest gaps is the language. So if a security team says this vulnerability has a high CVSS score, but the business is saying, will this cost us customers or revenue? Then we don't have an alignment. We have a confusion. So we have to tackle that. So instead of saying like critical vulnerability in the authentication system, what we can say is this: if this vulnerability gets exploited, this could allow account takeover, potentially impacting these many percentage of users, leading to revenue loss, reputational damage, and that shift alone dramatically improves the alignment. And the next one that I could think of is the late involvement of security. Security is often brought in after decisions are already made. At that point, any recommendation feels like a rework or worse or assistance. Early involvement turns security into a partner instead of a gatekeeper. So security should show up where decisions are shaped, not where they are validated. And the other one is the communication and the cultural gaps. So security team can sound very overly technical or an alarmist. Business teams can underestimate threats. So over time, this creates a culture of us versus them instead of shared ownership. So instead of saying that we have a severe threat, we should position that here is what could happen, how likely it is, and what it means for the business. And finally, I think the most important thing is the trust deficit, right? At the core of all this is the trust. So if the businesses sees security as overly cautious or security sees the business as reckless, alignment breaks down completely. So when security occasionally supports taking a calculated risk instead of blocking it, credibility increases dramatically. So it's very important that you build that trust with the business stakeholders or the top management so they can support you. And then finally, I would like to close stating that cybersecurity is not about eliminating risks; it's about enabling better risk-informed decisions. That's something that we should actually carve in our mind, so that we always give them the risk-informed decisions, because we are a business enabler and not a business stopper.
Right. I actually was quite intrigued by the example you gave us, Shamil, with the multiple teams having like different priorities and so on. So in an AI governance context, I'd like to actually like try to understand who should own the whole AI governance, or who should rather have like the final say in AI governance. Should it be like the IT team, or focus mainly on the cybersecurity team, or do we just leave it to business leadership?
That's a good question. So AI adoption has actually started in our group, and we are actually building AI and a data team. So any AI-based project comes in, it's the security team who is completely responsible for the governance, AI governance, whereby we ensure that before any AI-based application is being introduced or being installed in any of the systems, a thorough review is done. So typically, we start with doing a threat modeling exercise and understand what are the threats that we have. What does the current application and the team come up with the compensating control or the inherent controls that they have. Then we give them some time for them to resolve these vulnerabilities. And once we see that the risks are actually at an acceptable level, only then we proceed with going on with that application. So it completely depends on the size of your organization. If you are a very critical, sensitive fintech financial organization, then there will be a separate team responsible for AI governance. But for an SME or a family-owned business, the governance should be with the security team, because we are the right persons to understand the risks and then make risk-informed decisions.
And any inputs on that, Murtada? Would you like to add any like opinions you might have on who should control
Absolutely. I
or
mean,
own
yeah,
AI governance?
I think it's going to be very difficult to make it make AI governance owned by one specific team. I think it's a broad responsibility in any organization, because it touches so many fields. It touches security, it touches business, it touches operations, and we want to make sure that everybody has a certain level of involvement in decision and specifically in awareness on how to use AI. I mean, I often say, I mean, to people that when we see the explosion of AI agents or tools in organization, if we have to make an analogy from a human resource perspective, it would be the same as having 500 individuals roaming the office and opening every drawer to see what's inside without anybody knowing who they are. That's what's happening when no one is actually involved into governing or having proper training and policies around AI. So I would not personally not put it into a specific organization in the company. I would make it more of a broad company organizational and policy governance thing, if I would say. Yeah.
And what about you, Tamir? How would you handle the AI governance ownership within an organization? Tamir, I think you're on mute.
Yeah, completing to my discussion about my colleagues is AI is it's not part of one department actually. It's going to multiple departments, and also it's getting through the leaderships who decide who's be part of that. There is no actually is a right framework to with AI to be touching every elements related to any department or any who's dealing with it. Going to the cybersecurity, going with how to which is what exactly should be care about the data and leakage, and go into the data and the data office, what is related for the privacy and something related for what is should be allowed to be legitimate to using AI or not using AI. Another thing is related for another who's in يعني as if it's AI is a part of the ERP systems, another systems can be checked to be this type of information is not will be shared with another organization, and you have to be sure mention what exactly which AI will be using. This is will be يعني I think that the government is now working is with building on AI. We've seen company humans already start up establish own AI, and now is going through operations. All these because we're looking for type of security. We cannot be separated with this, and we sure be focus about AI, and we stubborn on it. Let's go with it to and share it with the business, and we working as careful steps. Yeah.
So then, should organizations prioritize a specific strategy, like specifically when designing an effective incident response or like a recovery framework?
Okay, let's say we said there's two types of the organization who have an attacks and someone who doesn't know the attacks. Now, the operation for cybersecurity who should be show the business if it's cybersecurity, slow down the business, and we tell him you're doing cybersecurity in wrong way. Actually, if it's you ignore it, will be your disaster in your business as well, because it's challenging to what is you're choosing between the speed and security. Now it should be achieving both speed and the same times. Now for the because it's we're talking the incident handling. Now you see the actually meeting the strategic. What you exactly writing in the strategy, you meet it up in reality. Now, for this, going to the important cybersecurity in incident handling, you be clarified what is your who's leading, who's exactly making the decision and communicating is very important to be clear out, because when it's happening the incidents, the time will be very crucial, because you need to be it will be increasing delaying for the decision. It will be clearing for the actually will be significant impact. Now, for the business driving operating, which will be what exactly will focus? Is it critical system? Is it critical data? Is it acceptable acceptable downtime? This will be clarified to the management and the leadership, because otherwise it will be show you what exactly you are going to the incident count. Now, for the talking the incident response, do you have a plan? Good. Did you test it? Right. Did you try to simulate it? What is your lesson for the this is plan and simulation. This will be help you to for the organization, especially to level up the maturity of cybersecurity, because under pressure, under the heat of the incidents, now there is no time to you will make many mistakes. If it's everything's he know what exactly he doing, and under the pressure, under the incidents happening, this will be easily be changing the organization happiness. Also, it's very important about the capacity. What exactly you have for especially for the downtime. Did you have right equipment? Do you have right procedure? Do you have a right framework for this one? This will be crucial for your business, and he will be changing the value of the cybersecurity and your business when it's suddenly happening, or happening for the at the end. It's been you have to be move on exactly what is the incidents happening in the framework, is what's not reacting for the attacks, what you are preparing for this attacks. Actually, this is like more important for the how to dealing with the incident handling.
So yeah, we do understand, of course, like with cybersecurity being a priority, that it is not an easy job to just quickly secure every organization at your wish and will. And with the constant evolving threat landscape, there's more work to be done, and there's constantly like a new way of securing your systems and your organization itself. Uh, so when it comes to a business standpoint, how can an organization effectively measure like an ROI on cybersecurity investments?
Okay. So this is a great action. I think this is a part of who working as a CISO actually is the ROI is I think it's challengeable, and it's very growth. But actually, I wanted to be direct information. Exactly, you have to. Most of the organization think as a mode of the financial mode, which is actually I think this will be wrong for them. Cybersecurity is it's have to be changed from IRI to how I prevent, what is reducing the risk, what's happening if this happen, and what is I mitigating on this if this incident is happening. What is exactly now the cybersecurity will be eligible for the ROIs, especially in reducing the risk. Now, what exactly did exactly the risk is reduced, and what is your potential losses for any avoidance we exactly will avoid, because after we already doing the IRI, for example, what is happening for the money organization, or is it, for example, preventing downtime, avoiding data leakage, meaning customer trust. We saw many organizations lost the customer risk based on very significant information is leakage or wherever is this is now is now is We're talking about the data. We're talking about the cybersecurity, and will be a trust. Now you have to be for the CISOs. I have to be clarified. Should be understanding what's cybersecurity qualifying to be a changing for the business terms. For example, financial exposure, operation impact, regulation operations. Will be any show understandable for the business language. Now, actually, it's very important to be defining a KPI. KPI is for MTT, for an MTTR, which is time to respond, time to detection. This is very important for any show up to cybersecurity KPIs to the business side. Another thing is related to actually it's a benchmark and maturity. Now, for when you are explaining for the risk of cybersecurity to the board or who's in charge in an organization should be involving to what exactly preventing and what exactly to be sure the business will be operating even the incidents has happened and what is you are exactly prepared. Let's say it in the summary, which IR is not about in the financial, not is about what is happening in incidents. Actually, what exactly is you are avoiding for the risk.
Right. Okay, now we shall include Murtada once again into the conversation. I have quite a few questions for you, Murtada. I hope that's okay.
Absolutely, no problem.
Yeah, right. Firstly, we're talking about resilience against sophisticated threats. And I mean, the conversation invariably in today's world always revolves around AI, either AI adoption to improve cybersecurity or AI-driven attacks. So, yeah, that brings my first question for you. How can organizations strengthen their resilience activities against increasingly sophisticated threats such as ransomware and AI-driven attacks?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I mean, when it comes down to ransomware, the main goal has always been to limit the blast radius of the attack, right? Is to reduce lateral movement as much as possible. Saying that we can completely block ransomware from arriving, I think it's a beautiful utopia, but we know that this is not something possible, right? Attackers have different ways, and we see now with AIs the way that these attacks are carried and they're prepared is much more advanced. They look like more and more close to reality and real when it comes to scams and phishing attacks to deploy those ransomware. So yeah, we have to focus here on making sure that we reduce this attack surface as much as possible. And how you do that? Well, a successful ransomware attack will be happening when the attacker will gain a certain level of privileges on the machine he's trying to compromise or the environment he's trying to compromise. So reducing those privileges as much as possible is going to be the most effective way for you to limit the lateral movement of the attacker, right? And as I said, AI is increasing those attacks because now we can see that they've become more relevant to the context. I mean, if I just make a small analogy with what's happened in the region in the last few weeks, we've seen a lot of attacks happening around specific contexts, when airlines, tickets, and stuff like that. This is because AI has been used to build those attacks to reflect the proper context in the region. So we should not only focusing on detecting those malware, we should be able to control the identity that could be exploited by those malware. And that comes from removing unnecessary permissions for these accounts, giving only the access that is needed at the time that is needed, enforcing MFA. I think my colleagues have all said that as much as possible, wherever you can do it, whenever you execute your sensitive command or you try to gain more permissions. If you can, of course, add some level of monitoring to the usage of these identity, but really to boil it down to something as simple as that. I mean, ransomware will always become a business crisis when privileges are obtained. So if we manage to control those permissions, make it as efficient as possible, monitor behavior, we had also discussion around that, you would significantly reduce the blast radius of these and then make your organization more resilient, because you will then know what would be the potential scope of an attack or surface of an attack, and then prepare your backups and use that accordingly. So I would say, yes, focusing on identity is going to be the best way to reduce that blast radius. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, I can. Sorry, it's just a little this one to unmute myself. Anyways, so again, with the whole integration of AI, IoT, and other emerging technologies, how can organize, like, I mean, we're aware, like, when you start integrating a new system or like a new technology with your existing or legacy systems, there is always like that tends to be like the point of maximum exposure for an organization. So, how can organizations securely transition from their legacy systems to adopting AI and other emerging technologies without increasing their attack surface?
Yeah. So, I mean, I said it earlier as well, with my analogy around, the people roaming the office. What the explosion of AI tools and usage is creating right now in any organization, I think all my colleagues will agree with me, is that there is an explosion of identities, right? We provide identities to those AI agents to perform tasks. And today we estimate the ratio between human identity and AI agents or AI identity to be 1 to 40. And this is increasing, I would say, every month, because there is so many tools today available. Every organization is looking into adopting AI because it makes everyone more productive. We've all somehow used AI to prepare for this, session, and make sure that, we have our messaging correctly formulated. It's so many ways you can leverage the AI to make yourself more productive, and that's why we see those explosion. But that creates, as I said, some gaps into how those AI identities are governed. As I said earlier, that there are some categories that are created, low, medium, and high risk. I mean, if you think about AI in some environment, it will be definitely a high risk, for example, for OT systems, and it's difficult to implement. But what we need to make sure to understand is that these AI agents will not complain if they have too much permissions, right? They will just use them and they will remain there. And then you have to ask yourself a question, right? And this is something we've seen when discussing and excusing and exchanging with executives in organization is, what happens when somebody who has created or used so many agents leave the organization? Who is inheriting the AI identity that he's using for his agents? Who's going to be owning this and be accountable for the usage? So that comes in the governance that we're trying to push organization to put in place to make sure that nothing is left unmonitored or unregistered in the company, so that people will know who's using which identities to perform this task, right? So that's the governance aspect of it. When it comes now to, again, securing those identities, treat AI the same way you would treat individuals, right? Every AI agent should be considered the same way an employee is. When we give them permission, when we give them access, there has to be a business decision, a valid reason to do that, and create those processes. Don't use your personal identity to perform tasks through AI. Obviously, this is something that is less and less visible, but at the beginning, we saw that. And apply the concept of just in time, which is just giving the access at the moment you need it, and just enough permission. So just giving the permission that is needed to perform that specific task to AI. That will allow you to not have what we call invisible privileges in your organization, right? So every AI agent, every process, every identity, they need an owner, they need a purpose, they need a defined scope, and a continuous governance. That's how you're going to be able to achieve the large adoption, without compromising your security. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And a quick side note, I can see a bunch of questions come in on the chat. And before we get to that and discuss those, one last question for you, Murtada.
Sure.
Um, with everything that is happening in the world of digital transformation, what are the best practices for managing third-party and supply chain cyber risks?
Yes, that started, I believe, not today. I mean, I think COVID was the biggest trigger for that, and when it comes to managing third-party access. So in some way, we are leveraging of all the lessons we learned 6 years ago. I mean, do you believe it was 6 years ago as well? That's also scary, but that's true, right? So when it comes to managing access for third party, the first thing we learn is that the security parameters have evolved, right? In the past, we used to consider everything internal and having our firewalls to secure us, and then we open gateways through the firewall using VPNs to secure the access for external parties. This is no longer how it works, right? Everything is down to zero trust, and zero trust means you apply the same security level everywhere, regardless of who is connecting from where or how they're connecting. And that's my definition of it. So, I mean, there are many, but that's something that makes sense to me. Now, when it comes down to third-party access, you want to make sure that, again, I say identity is the new parameter. Every time you give an access to someone that is external to your organization, you need to make sure that that access is monitored, is audited, and recorded when they access sensitive information, that these access should not open doors. So we try to deploy those VPN-less access to make sure that there is no open connectivities from outside. You want to make sure that the identities, again, going down to this, that are used by these third-party users are also controlled, given the right permission and governed properly, and they have a short lifetime. There shouldn't be in any case a way where you would create an account in your organization that has no end of life date when it comes to third party, because that will force you then to review the access after X month, for instance, instead of having that access still unmanaged and governed, for example, in your organization. So for me, I mean, third-party access should never mean permanent access. That's really the main thing I would like everyone to keep from here. It should always be controlled, time-bound, monitored, aligned with the exact requirements, and have a valid auditing and monitoring for the users.
Okay, so thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That was our panel discussion. Now, before we jump into the questions on the Q&A chat board, quick note to all of our audience. We're opening the floor for questions now, and kindly please post your questions in the chat or Q&A box. We shall try to address as many as possible within the time we have available. Firstly, I mean, I'd like to direct this to Thamir, but in case anyone else wants to take this question, you're more than welcome to address it. The current cybersecurity threat landscape in Saudi Arabia, how would you describe it, Thamir?
Well, currently is very huge. We can say it because after what's happening exactly in this particular as a geopolitics and the time is a very huge actually type of cyber attacks. Many of our types of attacks happening actually within times. Plus, as was mentioned, our colleagues related to the AI. Also, AI is going to the cybersecurity attacks and is making different angle for the cybersecurity attacks. And this will be causing heavy in many organizations how to dealing with the different technology and different intelligence related to the attacks. Plus, we're talking about related to for the cybersecurity in this terms on our attacks that are happening in GCC, especially in happening what exactly in these days. Actually, it's quite be crucial to the many levels on the cybersecurity and the operation. What I said when I hear it from our colleagues related, it's the impact in an organization is huge because it's needed to be every second to be check and detecting any new attacks.
All right. Next, we do have a question on MFA slowing the process for AI agents. Murtada, would you like to take this?
Sure. The question is going to be how you're going to have the AI agent really interacting with MFA tools, right? And that's something that's probably going to be the core of this. I would probably say, before focusing on implementing MFA for AI tool, if ever the AI tool can interact with your MFA solution to get a one-time access or validate that second factor, focus on the identity that that MFA agent is going to be using. Make sure that you have the right policies in place, the right permission level that are associated with it. I mean, as Anna said, if you have different level of categories, high, medium, low, then do the same. You don't have to go down to the exact, level of command that AI agent will have to run. But define those categories and then start to categorize your AI agent in the same so that you can attach the right level of permission. That would be the first step you have to do. Yes, if you start implementing MFA at the agent level and you manage to do this, then yes, it will definitely slow down the process because there would be an extra hop of validation. But that could be, again, based on how that MFA is accessed and done. It would be minimal in terms of delays, but it's necessary, right? But I would, again, revert back to saying, focus on permission first, create those categories, make sure that you have those properly defined before focusing on MFA for a agent. Yes.
Right. Okay, someone's actually taken quite some time to write this question down. It's a pretty lengthy one, so bear with me, gentlemen. And okay, so here goes. As AI adoption grows across different business units, each use case carries its own level of business criticality, data sensitivity, and regulatory exposure. In such cases, ideally, AI related cybersecurity and privacy risks should be owned by the respective business unit management, just like any technology they choose to adopt. How should organizations balance centralized AI governance with distributed risk ownership?
I can give
Anybody?
yeah, I can give my answer and then let also my colleagues continue.
Sure.
So the point is extremely valid, right? We cannot put the responsibility of securing AI tools to only one organization one unit in the organization, right? It has to be a joint and collective effort. There will always be tools that will allow organizations to monitor the usage of AI, and they are more and more tools, right? We are now, for example, capable of looking into if users have installed ChatGPT, for example, just to name it, on their machine, because it's a sanctioned AI tool by the company, but instead of using the company account, they will be using their personal account. So today, that kind of visibility is it's possible to be provided. So there will always be the cybersecurity team acting like an umbrella above all of these tools, all of these, services or compliance teams or business units in the organization to help them have the right visibility as well on what your users are doing, right? So I would say that yes, every organization, every unit in the organization will have their say or their responsibility in the risk around using the usage of of AI tools, but the security team will have this also responsibility of making sure that they provide the right visibility to all of these units in that usage so that they can make informed decision.
Right.
Okay,
Anybody
Adam.
else? Any opinions?
Yes. So for the AI, when it will be established on another organization, what its balance is related to how is the SOC team can be يعني monitor the agents and what exactly what's happening. What's happening usually it's like the other technologies such as an email before, and we try to can be checked out what is filter out and what is spamming and what is phishing. Now with the AI we have to deal it at the same category, but which you have to check in what exactly happening in the AI agent. And with mode using another mode effect AI within SOC teams to be يعني check it out and monitor right what is happening inside every element inside every agent. This will be this will be helping the cybersecurity teams and also the business to be ensuring this happening is within the technology in the right permissions.
Right. Okay, there is one last question we have, and Bivin, I didn't get to ask you any like I mean there weren't a lot of questions coming your way, I think, post our session, so I'll direct this one to you if that's okay. So the question goes, how to implement zero trust to onboard third party in terms of IAM and PAM.
When you have a veteran like Mortada sitting on this call asking me the question about PAM is not fair. But I'll still
Well,
take it.
I'll direct it to both of you. Like, yeah, it will be for both of you.
Anyway, I'll take the question. See, it's you cannot have there's no one stop shop or one mechanism of how we can do that. Like I said before, while during a fireside chat, zero trust is again very similar to how we do AI. Zero trust is also it's multi-fold. There are various mechanisms that you have to deploy from a network standpoint, from an identity standpoint, from an access management standpoint. There are a lot of different nuances to how you apply zero trust. Now, when you have an IAM in place, and what we need to very clearly understand is in the entire identity lifecycle, IAM has a different role to play than an IGA, than a PAM solution. So we need to very clearly understand how do we build our identity security fabric? And if we go back to the basics, any security fabric that you build, whether it is network, application, data, whatever it may be, you have to start with the basics. When you go to identity security fabric building, you need to first understand what are the various components you're going to put into that, depending on the problem and the risk register you're trying to address. So based on that, then you build the zero trust concept, and then you start building on how do you want to do that. So we can very easily do zero trust as long as you're able to segment based on an identity, right? So and I'm going to take an example. Let's say user A, whether that person is an employee, whether that person is a consultant, whether that person is a contractor, you can, from an identity standpoint, very easily segment that identity if you have the visibility on who the identity is, where is the identity coming from, where is the identity going to, what exactly is that identity trying to do from an authentication standpoint, you will be able to invoke zero trust, right? Now, if you take another realm of zero trust, let's talk about the device that identity is using, right? So the same identity, identity X, now your entire realm is going to change. It's going to move from an identity-based segmentation to a device segmentation per se. So now you're looking at what device is that identity using? Is it matching the compliance of the organization, so on and so forth. So like I said in the beginning, it's not a single answer. You have to start with the base, building the fabric. What are the components we need? What is the risk register, the current state of the risk register? What is the desired state of the risk register? And based on that, you put the controls. Are the controls available today? Absolutely yes. Right? The thing is prioritization and what is the desired state of your risk register in terms of zero trust. And you will be able to address all of this. Murtaza, did I say it right?
You did, yes. And then we'll just add a few bits to it because you almost covered it all completely. I would just start by saying, we are lucky because the core of zero trust is identity, right? And today what we see is if you want to implement zero trust properly, you have to go down to that. And I've been in the PAM industry for almost 10 years now. And what I can say is the border between PAM and IAM is starting to disappear completely, right? We really start to see a sort of, expansion or merger, you want to call it the way you want, on tools that will treat identity as broadly as possible, not only looking into, as we said, where the user is connecting from, how they're using what they're accessing, but everything else, who they are, why they need to have the access, what kind of access they need, and etc. And we're expanding those requirements to include IAM, IGA concept into securing privilege access or any type of access broadly. So the question should even be, asked the other way around, right? So it's really PAM and IAM that are at the foundation and core basis of implementing zero trust, and it makes it very easy once you have the right tools in place.
Right. Okay, turns out we do have one more question, if there are any takers for this one. What if the AI agent itself improves in CIA traits? What is the role of cybersecurity in improving the AI agents in the information security perspective? I think Motada and Bivin, I'll leave it right back at you to
This
address
time I'll
this.
start then.
Yeah.
From a general perspective, I mean, the same way we're seeing AI being used to make attacks more sophisticated, delivered in a more efficient way and look more real than ever. We are also, fortunate to have the same, I would say, power in the defensive side as well, right? Every organization, every vendor, every solution today is leveraging AI to help make organization more secure. It comes from understanding or analyzing the behavior of the user to make sure that this is, properly aligned with the right policies and process in place, analyzing, data and patterns to detect, anomalies. All of these are ways to leverage AI to make sure that, organization or I mean, and I'm again going into CIA trait, but the core foundation of cybersecurity, to make sure that we have those or properly implemented and in place. So I would say we see also a rise in usage of AI tools, and it's becoming almost essential in every cybersecurity vendors that we have in the market today to empower the solution to be a bit more efficient than they are today. That's my 2 cents on this.
Bivin, anything you would like to add?
Yeah, I'll add to that as well. See, again, I don't know, I keep insisting on going back to the basics, but it's a very simple thing. And if you really understand and if you try to get the crux of what AI is trying to do is it's just computational power. When you have computational power and when you have enough amount of visibility and spread, you can do what AI is doing today. That's as simple as what a 1-0 breakdown of AI is. And from a cybersecurity perspective, if you build the same thing in reverse, you will be able to address whatever problems an AI poses. As simple as that. Now, how quickly do you do that? How quickly do you envisage those visibility points? Like I'll give you a classic example. I'm sorry to keep picking on Mortada. I'll pick on once again. If you look at the whole PAM story, uh, I started operating in the PAM uh, uh, articulation of the product around 17, 18 years ago. It was very challenging when we would go out and tell people about the PAM, right? For people to understand the whole PAM solution. Today, PAM becomes a very budgeted line item. And that's because they've understood the problems it poses and the problems that a PAM solution can address, can deliver. Very similarly, when AI is so dissected today, if you put all of that together, understand the problem landscape, and then look at solutions, today might be point solutions, there might be platformized solutions coming in the future, but if you understand how you can solve this, and if you can stitch that together, that's your answer, and that's your solution of how you can work with protecting or effectively using AI solutions and not having it becoming a problem in the whole run. The problem is we have to go back to the basics, understand the compute, and then work towards that. And that's how you're going to solve it. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen. So that brings us to a wrap on the proceedings for the day. We'll now have a quick quiz to test your knowledge. I mean, this was mainly for the audience as well. Test your knowledge on cybersecurity. Please take 2 minutes to complete the quiz on screen. 10 lucky winners will receive exciting gifts, so make sure you participate. We've got 1 minute on the clock. Last 30 seconds. We're down to 15. And time. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the conclusion of today's program. I'd like to take a moment to thank you for joining CyberSafe Now KSA, organized by Q&A, and for contributing to a meaningful discussion on the future of cybersecurity in the kingdom. The exchange of ideas today reflects the importance of collaboration, preparedness, and innovation in a securing critical industrial environments. We also extend our sincere gratitude to our supporting partner, Delinea, and our gold sponsor, Silverfort, our esteemed speakers, and everyone who joined us online. Your participation has made this webinar a grand success. Thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen, for your engagement and for your time today. We wish you a productive rest of the day.